Mary me, Annie here. Welcome back to Tarot Together and the series on the magician's attributes, the wisdom represented by his card. This last video in the series on his attributes regards the two worlds that he represents and what they are in relation to the great work of life. He stands in the position of the great Hermes Trismegistus, one arm raised to the heaven, one arm extended to the earth. As above, so below, and equally as below, so above. Surrounded by the yellow sky of consciousness, he's aware that both of those worlds are equal, and that both of those worlds meet within him. Hard won over time, or in a burst of insight in the moment, he realizes that he is intended, the purpose of his living is to make something of that. If he was named into being, it is now time for him to define his name. The great work of his living is about appreciating the seen and the unseen that surrounds him in his living. Taking that in as energy, an inspiration. Consolidating it into a naming and a word and a making so of what he will be within this great possibility of what that might be. He determines the purpose to his life. No one else does. The great work of his living is his constant creation and recreation of himself and understanding what feeds him and inspires him, what pieces he brings together and to begin to understand, and he'll learn more as he journeys, what he becomes out of that. He understands at this point that he has everything he needs, that he came knowing everything he had to know, that he is surrounded by, in the physical and in the spiritual world, all the support that he needs. He has the power in any minute to stand completely alone. He has the power in any minute to become one with everything. He understands there's no distinction between the mundane and the spiritual. As I saw mentioned in one of my readings, the spiritual and the material, mundane, described as the apparent and the obscure. And he glories as much in what is apparent as he does in that which he has to explore at a level of mystery. He begins to understand, and the tarot teaches this constantly in his journey of wisdom that he's stepping out upon, and that the bringing together of seemingly opposite things to balance all the parts of our lives which sometimes seem opposite to each other, to bring everything together, is what informs and feeds him and gives purpose to his life. It could be said at this point, in his transformation, in his evolution into his wisdom, his greater wisdom, he hasn't done it yet, but he has that sense of power, of knowing that he can. His great work has just begun. It's captured in this card in the moment it has begun. He's surrounded by all of creation, visible and invisible, known and mysterious. He has a sense of himself standing in the midst of all of creation. This is the moment when he knows he is one with it, and he is also completely unique within it. That center of his body between his raised hands, the spot at which above and below centers within him, is a moment of comprehending his personal, unique, individual power, his very existence, the name which is himself, realizing its potential only when it can hold that beautiful power of existence with the fact that in the greater experience of life, all of that needs to be released to a higher purpose, released to a greater sense of awareness, perhaps released to a connection with the Godhead. The great work of his life, to explore and come to understand his reason for being. This card represents his step into the exploration of that. Even this beautiful power of making the great work of his life, there are challenges within the energies of the Magician card, which might be considered reversals. Things that are not in an appropriate time, an excess or lack of the energy of the card. That distinction of feeling at one with something, where the trickster enters the picture. If this life, as the trickster often teaches, is an illusion, always changing, always ending, always beginning again, could this sense of connection to purpose and something greater than as well be an illusion? If the Magician is going down that path in any particular moment or a great length of time in his life, he loses connection to the value of his life on the greater level. He can't connect anymore the beauty of living in the here and the now with the wider possibilities of a spiritual life. The goddess says in her charge, "Mine is the ecstasy of the spirit, and mine also joy upon the earth." The shadowed magician thinks it has to be one or the other, and he cannot simultaneously hold both of them. He could be so immersed in the pleasures of life, he doesn't think beyond that. He could also be stuck in this part of his magicianship, lost within his internal universe. And he can also be so intent on a search for great meaning that life just slips by him. And if the power of his willingness to take on the great work of his life, to imbue his life with meaning, to seek out the meaning, to declare it as so, to be willing to step into mystery, to be willing to step fully into the life around him. If that is informed at his sense of higher meaning and greater purpose to his life, shadowed, that will manifest as spiritual doubt. When challenged, pulling back from a sense of greater mystery, imbuing the world around him. When challenged, pulling back from the pure, exquisite joy of just living and being. If the great work of the magician's life and the rest of the journey he's going to make is to explore more fully how he's connected to others and to what exists as the greater sum of all of those experiences of his living. Reversed. He experiences a sense of this is all there is. I come, I live my finite set number of days, and I'm done. I'm out of here. The magician has left the building. None of us, in every moment of our living, especially in the trying times of life, but I think too sometimes in those beautifully simple moments of life that we take just as they are, we're not always connected to this sense of greater meaning to our life. The idea that our life is a great work can be a joy, a curiosity, an opportunity to explore further, or it could feel as if it's a burdensome responsibility put upon us. The two worlds of the magician, above and below, and his ability to see them as one and the same. The greatest lesson, the wisdom of his card offers us all. I welcome your thoughts on the magician and the great work of his living, of our living. Much ado about nothing, or over-dramatizing the simple act of living, or the opportunity to live at many levels and experience many things in each and every moment of our life. Your comments below and on our Facebook group are welcome. This is the last in the series of videos on the attributes of the magician's card. I would love to know if you have attributes you would add to this list. It's a way for all of us to learn from the comments here and on our Facebook group. If you were going to give a word to the power of the magician's wisdom, what would that one word be? Mary Part.